Good morning, everyone. Today is my last day of placement for my second placement. I just ate some breakfast. I had some sourdough toast and I finished writing my card to my CI. I got a pair of rock climbing socks. Not really socks for rock climbing, but socks with a rock climber on it for him because he likes to rock climb, so hopefully he likes patterned socks. So let's head out and go to placement. This is my CI. His name is Eric Cho.
Hello.
He does normal physio and vestibular physio.
And concussion.
Oh yes, and concussions. This is my view from the charting room. Very good for people watching. So we'll start with the tour of the clinic. This is coming out from the charting room. That's the overall view. This is the room that my CI Eric treats in. That's the treatment bed. He has some educational posters on the wall for vestibular rehab. And coming out, there's Eric, my CI, walking towards me. We do have a Christmas tree here because this is close to the holiday season. An agility ladder, me demonstrating my agility. And those other things on the wall are for vestibular rehab as well. And an occupational therapist and a massage therapist also work here, so it's an interdisciplinary clinic. There's the kitchen. We keep our lunches in the fridge there, and we have parallel bars for balance work, so they can catch themselves if needed. This clinic does do rehab for return to work, so you see the ladder there for people who have to use that at work, and boxes to see their lifting technique as well. And there are usually kinesiologists and PTAs sitting there. We have a recumbent bike, treadmill, the shuttle. And they do have a nice view they can look out from so they can people watch as well when they exercise. And we have this interesting body blade thing. If you look in the picture, that's what you do. And finally, that's the waiting area where the patients would wait at. Do you have any advice or tips for people who will be going to placement or any ways they could prepare?
As a supervisor, I don't think you really need to prepare, but the big thing that helps me is that when students understand coming in, they have to be as good of a student as much as they want as a good CI, right? I think most students come in thinking they should be taught. They want to be taught and given things, but they forget what they can control, being reflective, genuinely taking feedback, acting on how to change, making sure that they understand their biases, those kind of things. If I have a student that can come in and recognize those things and work on those things, makes my job way easier, and I feel like the students get way more out of the placement from being able to do that.
Any quotes you want to pass on?
My quotes I want to pass on? My favorite one came from a patient who had a knee replacement, and he told me that pain is weakness leaving his body. So he pushed hard and he recovered well. I preach that to all my other patients too that are a little bit fearful of pain.
That was cringe, wasn't it? Okay, guys, you can vote for whose saying is better. That's Eric's saying. But my saying is... Wait, I have many sayings. I'm trying to think of which one I want to use. Okay, this is in the case of a knee surgery, okay? And this person is on a cane. So, some pain a day keeps the cane away. Vote in the comments whose quote is better. Okay, so I had an assessment this morning. It was crazy. So first of all, this person is coming in for a locking of the knees, and she's young. I haven't had a lot of assessments with younger patients. Doctors have told her that her knees are crooked. She wakes up with a lot of stiffness in the knees, and that her knees are locked and she can't move. There's so much going on in assessments, so you have to be okay, let me think about ultimately what's happening, and then also listen to what she's saying, but then also think about what I want to ask next, but then also type everything that's happening. That was her presentation. She already had x-rays. Nothing was really wrong from imaging. Yeah, she just said with activities, it would hurt, it would lock up and get stiff. At that point, I wasn't really sure what was going on, which is bad. I know, okay. Eric here on the side tells me that it's good to end the subjective history and have a primary and a secondary diagnosis. But I did think maybe it's related to like valgus, because that is something that teenage girls experience with growing in adolescence. So I looked at her general movements with walking, with stairs, and squatting. With squatting, her knees were going forward like crazy. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of load on the knees. And she had pain as she was squatting deeper and with single leg squats. So that kind of helped confirm more that maybe that was related to the issue with the valgus. The Lachman's, she felt pain, but I don't think I felt laxity. But the thing about being a student is that it's hard to tell what you feel. Oh, the knee's moving. Is it lax? I'm not really sure, but that's something you can look into after. The McMurray's test for the meniscus was also positive, and the MCL test with the knee was positive too. So I did have an idea of what was happening, but I felt like I needed to confirm just so I'm not missing anything. We briefed on everything except for the treatment and the exercises that I was gonna give her. I didn't realize that until I was already in the room and talking to her about what was going on. And I was like, wait, I didn't even think about what exercises we were gonna do. And we didn't even talk about the exercises. So that caused me to sweat physically. At that point, I was nervous because I was trying to educate her, but then also I realized, shoot, I don't know what to do next. It hurts with stairs. Let's do something related to that, but less intense. I got her doing like step-ups at first. Then I realized I'll throw a band around her knee to add a medial force. So then she has to work to keep her knee out. I remember we talked about the glute med. I'm like, oh, we'll go back in the room and do glute med exercise. And those are classic. So then I wanted to do clamshells, but she couldn't do clamshells. So we did supine with the knees coming out like that. So it's a bit easier. Normally I like to give 3 exercises, but I only gave 2. But I've been on fight or flight mode all this time. My brain can't function anymore. Because in class, you can think, but no, there, everything is happening at once. I can't just sit there and be like, let me just stare at the wall for a second as I get my thoughts together. Then they're gonna be like, do you not know what you're doing? They're gonna eat me alive. Even the dad was there, so I was like, 2 pairs of eyes on me. At that point, I was like, I have to leave this room. This is too much. And it gave me some ideas of doing some functional work for the glute med, like a sit to stand with a band. And I'm sure I could have come up with that if I had some time. But when you're in the room, as I was just saying, there's no time. I've done a couple of low back assessments. And yesterday I did a low back assessment and I wasn't even that nervous. I was like, yeah, I know the drill. So I hope eventually I'll get to the point where most parts of the body I'm like, yeah, I know the drill, and not be so like internally frantic. I'm sure I wasn't frantic on the outside, but inside I was like, make it stop! I need to think! So yeah, please give me some feedback.
I didn't realize how frazzled you were.
As I said, I'm good with hiding my frantic feelings. Even my CI couldn't tell. So, well, now he knows, but it's my last day, so I'm gonna be out of here. So.
I think that's common to hear, though. You know, it's really hard to multitask everything as a student. Like you said, in school, it's so simple, and doing it in real life is just so much more to consider, right? But I think one thing is that I could probably give you advice on now, hearing how kind of panicked you felt, is don't worry to take a bit of time to think. You know, to show that in front of your patients that you just need like, hey, I need a couple minutes maybe to kind of think things out, or, you know, maybe to even like bring it back to them. Like, is there any kind of goals that you want to get back to? Or, you know, like you mentioned stairs is pretty tough. Is there anything we can work on there? You know, to kind of like demonstrate that you are trying to make things specific, bouncing ideas off of them, you know, that there's a process there. Most patients appreciate that. You know, there are times I even admit to patients that I don't know what I'm doing here, or let me figure this out. And none of them have come back to me to say like, oh my god, this person's an idiot, which I feel like a lot of students have that fear for some reason.
So you're just like thinking, you're not like pretending to type or something.
No, honestly, patients can see through that. You know, like you wouldn't believe how many times that patients come back to me saying that, you know, other healthcare professionals, they can tell when they're kind of BSing them or kind of faking things, or they give a random answer and they're like, that's not even what I asked, you know? So that whole adage about fake it till you make it, you know, I'm not a big supporter of that, you know? It's okay to admit human kind of like flaws that everyone has, right? You're not expected to know everything, as long as you can figure it out. I don't know why students come in thinking that they have to know everything. If anything, they should feel kind of safe to know that there's a safety net of a supervisor and it's okay for them to not know, right? If anyone's not going to know, it's a student, right? The supervisor is never going to, it's not always going to be there. What I try to develop in my students is, do you have a process of figuring things out when I'm not there, you know, to be an autonomous practitioner? There are times too, like, I will tell patients, I'm not too sure what's going on, or I haven't seen this condition, like you're the first patient. This is what you can do. I know it's safe. Let me go do research. And when you come back next week, I'm gonna work hard to like help you out, or I'm gonna even go that extra mile, you know, to figure this out for you. I've had positive feedback from that too, right? Don't fake it where you feel like you need to like
pretend like you know what's happening when you don't.
Yeah, like sneak out to the washroom and then actually
Google
and then go back and, you know, read some kind of sweaty definition off your palm, right? Is that supposed to be me?
Yes, that is you, right there.
Thank you, Luocia. I appreciate it. I'll wear this on a business casual attire. The guy that has a fun socks.
Thank you, Eric, for getting us/me lunch. He likes to buy his students a free lunch at the end of his placement. One last look. Goodbye forever. One last look of Eric as well.
Bye, Luocia.
Bye. Well, I'm going down the same way as you,
Yes,
so why are you saying bye now?
I'm saying bye more symbolically, you know? Bye forever. And good luck in your placements, school. You'll do well.
Thank you.